Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Brady, and I am a multi-state navigator in the Department of Labor's Office of Apprenticeship. Welcome to National Apprenticeship Week. Now, NAW is a nationwide celebration where we take a week and we lift up our programs and opportunities for all. Now, this is our 10th year of what we call engagement, expansion, and innovation. So it is our 10th year of National Apprenticeship Week. This is our anniversary. Now, because of that, we have some special topics for each day of the week. For Monday, we focused on youth and young adults. On Tuesday, we focused on registered apprenticeship in new and emerging industries and around the globe. Tomorrow, Thursday, we'll focus on women in apprenticeship. And on Friday, we will focus on federal apprenticeship and veterans in apprenticeship. Today, Wednesday, our focus is expanding registered apprenticeship to underserved populations. Now, as we go through this short slide deck, I am going to explain what is on each slide for members of the audience that may be blind or visually impaired. So I am now turning to the second slide. And this is simply a title slide. And the title of our event today is Unlocking Apprenticeships for All Abilities, and specifically a spotlight on the Blind Institute of Technology. On the right side of the screen is the symbol, the logo for BIT, or Blind Institute of Technology. We also have the logo for a key partner and our host for this event, Safal Partners, and I'll say more about that just momentarily. And then we have the Department of Labor seal with the Office of Apprenticeship highlighted. And then I'm moving to slide 3, where I want to say a little bit more about our partner, Safal Partners. SAFL is a U.S. Department of Labor national industry intermediary. They help employers in every sector build a stronger, more skilled tech workforce by providing a menu of no-cost services. Now, we meaning the Department of Labor's Office of Apprenticeship, we contract with Safal Partners to provide these services. And those services include a lot of technical assistance and expertise to build and facilitate customized training programs for organization's own sponsorship, if preferred, or ongoing TA or technical assistance to launch and sustain your program, as well as connections to resources at the federal, state, and local levels. We also have their website highlighted on the slide, and that would be www.safalpartners.com, and their intermediary link, which is cyber.safalpartners.com. I'm now turning to slide 4. And this is where we start talking about BIT, or Blind Institute of Technology, and their National Registered Apprenticeship Program. BIT is a sponsor, which means that they administer the Registered Apprenticeship Program, or as we call a RAP. They were registered as a national program in 2021, and specifically as what we call Group Non-Joint Program, or GNJ. Let me explain what that means. A group registered apprenticeship program means that there is more than one employer involved. A non-joint program means that there is no collective bargaining agreement or no union involvement. So a group non-joint program means that there are multiple employers, more than one, and there's no union involvement. And that describes the program by Blind Institute of Technology. It is also a competency-based registered apprenticeship program, and that's to be contrasted with a time-based program or a hybrid program. It lasts approximately 2 years, which in our parlance is about 4,000 hours. Their program includes 4 occupations currently: a database administrator for Salesforce, digital accessibility analyst, an application developer, and a computer support specialist. I'm now moving to the 5th slide. This is one of my favorite slides. This slide contains a summary of what BIT, or Blind Institute of Technology, does. And there are some great pictures on this slide. One of Mike Hess, the founder of BIT, and that's my favorite picture of Mike. We also have, yes, it is. We also have headshots of Mark Opatow, who was an apprentice at BIT, but who is now a full-time employee. Dr. Jeff Gazzara, who is a doctor of osteopathic medicine, and Sarah Russell, but we'll be getting to those folks shortly. Let me tell you a little bit about BIT. They are a global nonprofit dedicated to staffing and recruiting professionals with disabilities. They help reduce barriers to inclusive employment through education, preparation, employment placement, and accessible technology initiatives. BIT Academy offers courses in Salesforce administration, digital accessibility. They prepare disabled professionals for their Department of Labor endorsed registered apprenticeship program. The BIT Academy is the only Salesforce approved training provider for people with disabilities. Okay, on our next slide, we have that great picture of Mike Hess, the founder of BIT. And I want to just describe something that I just think really is it's awesome. Mike's shoes glow. They're lighted shoes. And why I think that's so apropos is because it's like he's the Flash. And he's so, no, don't laugh. I haven't gotten to you yet. But he's very charismatic, very dynamic, and he's passionate about what he does, and he loves what he does. Now, I'm going to let him talk for himself, but Mike got tired of being the token blind guy. And I am so glad, and this ecosystem is so glad for that, because we are benefiting tremendously from his support, his guidance, his participation. So I want to start with a question. Mike, okay, I hope I didn't make you speechless, but why did you start Blind Institute of Technology? Tell us about BIT's mission and its role in driving inclusion through registered apprenticeship opportunities.
Thank you so much, Maria. You actually brought tears to my eyes. So I've had a lot of folks give introductions before. That was absolutely top five warmest. That was amazing. I it was it's interesting. Like we people with disabilities. You're going to hear a few more. Like our journeys are very Like you can have five people who are blind or low vision, five people who are deaf or hard of hearing, five people who are part of the autism spectrum disorder. What our journeys are like, there's some similarities, but there's a lot of unique pieces to our journey. And for years, Maria, I struggled identifying as the blind person. Like I didn't identify with a cane until truly I was putting my life into at danger, because I like it's no shock to anybody listening that disability is it's kind of a taboo conversation out there, right? Especially in private industry, it's just not talked about
Yeah.
with all the inclusion efforts. And so it took me it took me years to really realize that, my blindness is actually a superhero power. And it was because of my blindness that made me a badass engineer inside of private industry, Fortune 5, Fortune 600 companies. And as I kind of grew into that and was more comfortable in my skin, that's when I just started. It was in my mid 30s when I started literally writing the business case for Blind Institute of Technology. And it took me a few years, and I was actually pitching the business case to the C-suite at the organization I was at, the C-level, the CIO, CTO within the organization, and they actually encouraged me. So I'm working for this Fortune 500 company, and the C-level actually encouraged me to take this business to the next level and actually make it happen, make it a reality. And that's what prompted me when I realized, like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. I've got C-level buy-in for a Fortune 500 company, and ultimately that's going to be our customer. Because when I was doing the research, there are a lot of nonprofits that support the disability community as a whole. And yet I couldn't find any of them that were like, marketing what I consider the greatest untapped human potential on the planet, which is the professionals with disabilities community, to private industry. And so I took the plunge with the support of my best friend and better half. And 13 years ago and some change now, I left my six-figure income to start Blind Institute of Technology, and it's been absolutely an amazing journey ever since.
What a story. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Well, I definitely want to hear more, but I want to hear from some of your apprentices.
Yes.
So for right now, I'm turning the slide to Mark Opatow. Now, Mark grew up in Philadelphia and New York, and he doesn't have the same New York accent that I do, but we'll forgive him for that. But he's now a resident of Miami Beach, and that's actually a key component here when we talk about a national registered apprenticeship program, because BIT is headquartered, and I didn't say this earlier, they're headquartered in Denver, Colorado, but there are apprentices all over the country, and that's part of what makes them a national registered apprenticeship program. And Mark was a cantor in a synagogue, and his whole background is music, and he lost his hearing. Now, I don't want to tell his story. I want him to share with us his journey, and I'll start with a question. Mark, you went from being a cantor to losing your hearing to ending up at Blind Institute of Technology. In fact, you didn't even complete your registered apprenticeship program before they snatched you up and hired you outright. So tell us about your journey, if you wouldn't mind.
Thanks, Maria. It's great to be with you today. So yeah, you told a lot of it, which is I appreciate that. So I grew up in New York. As Maria mentioned, music was kind of my life. I'm profoundly deaf now, but my whole life, my family's musical, kind of like the Von Trapp family singers. I grew up singing madrigals and all that stuff as a kid, very dorky. But I was really into rock, and then punk. So if people know CBGBs, that was like my place
Oh,
for
yeah.
many, many years.
Wow.
And then I got very into classical music. I have a degree in classical guitar. And then when I quit smoking, because if you're a guitarist in the 80s, you got to smoke. So when I quit, I picked up singing. And so I got another degree in vocal performance and then a master's in vocal performance. Then I was a working musician in New York, and my focus was on early music. So it's like 1500 to 1750, Renaissance and Baroque music, Bach, Purcell, all this great stuff.
Yep.
And then I decided to become clergy. So I became a cantor. And so I was juggling those two. And then in 2006, I lost all the hearing in my left ear, just out of the blue. I was at the Javits Center and my ear just, it was like a bomb went off in my head. And that was that. But at the time, I was able to pivot and just do kind of, I was a classical guitarist, so I did guitar and singing into a kind of a intimate style. And I could do that, but I could no longer do the classical career, no orchestras, no choirs, none of that. And at the time, the doctor said, it's unlikely to go bilateral, but then it went bilateral, and I lost the hearing in my right ear 9 years later in 2015. And so when that happened, it was a devastating thing for a musician. And I went into a deep spiral, and which was ultimately diagnosed as major depressive disorder. Once I got that diagnosis and got treatment, which was about 6 years later, around 2021, then it was okay. I was back in the world, but I spent about 6 years wanting to get out of the world, and that was the focus.
Yes.
I wasn't working. I have this huge gap in my work history because of that. And so when I came out and got back into the world, I didn't know what I was going to do. Um, my sister, she's a folk musician, a friend of hers had mentioned Salesforce to her. And so I started studying online. They have a great free online learning thing called Trailhead, and you can just hop on and learn the thing. I got into it. I liked it. And then I started looking around for, what can I find that can help me get a job? Because I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. I'm deaf. I'm over 50. I'm pivoting
Right.
from a career which has nothing to do with technology. I was a musician my whole life. And then I found Mike's organization. And I said, oh, you know what? That's for me. I want to get into that apprenticeship because that will be a stepping stone. I'll do 2 years and then, I'll have this work history and I can get over that weird gap that I have and the other things that were going to make it difficult to find a job. And so I applied. I got in, and it wasn't instantaneous to get into the apprenticeship, but I got into it, and then I applied myself and worked hard, and so I was there for about 6 months before Mike came to me and offered me a full-time position. So now, I'm lucky to be working with the apprentices in the apprenticeship in a kind of you know position as what we call project lead. So we're a Salesforce consultancy for external clients, and we develop Salesforce instances with work from the apprentices and with the project leads all working together. So it's a really lovely system, and it's a great thing. It was a lifeline for me. Without it, I'm not sure where I would have headed. So it was kind of a beacon of hope in a world that was made difficult by losing my hearing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a story. What an inspiration. And I know that you are inspiring so many attendees here this morning, and also folks who are going to be listening to the recording subsequently. So thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your story and for being part of this event. I'm going to change gears and move to Dr. Jeff Gazzara. And Jeff is also from the Northeast, just outside of Philadelphia. And well, I'm going to let Dr. Gazzara tell his story, but he is a doctor of osteopathic medicine, having studied at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. He was a practicing physician for more than 6 years. But I'm going to let Jeff tell his story. And let me start with a question. How did you learn about BIT? where are you today? And tell us kind of what happened in between, so to speak. So if you wouldn't mind sharing your story, Dr. Gazzara.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Wonderful.
Okay, great. So I will start from the beginning. As you mentioned, I'm a physician, and there's no other way to say this than other physicians just were very nasty to me. There was a lot of bias because of my disability, and they kept me from becoming board certified. And when you're not board certified in the medical field, job opportunities are very limited. So I found myself in telemedicine, and I practiced in telemedicine for a little over 6 years, and honestly really loved it. You know, this was my dream to become a physician, and I loved it. I got to work from home. Unfortunately, like I said, when you're not board certified, I was only hired by startup companies or companies that really weren't doing the best of business. And so routinely over these 6 years, I thought, here we go. I'm in my full-time role. I'm doing great. This is where it's all starting for me. And then they would be gone. The company would collapse. And so I would go from, these over six figures to nothing. And it was in January of 2023. This was, another time that this happened to me where I was like, I just can't do this. I need stability. This isn't helping my mental health. I can't move on with my life. So the natural pivot for a physician is to look into non-clinical work. But the problem is I didn't have experience in anything else. All I know is to treat patients. So it was hard to work with a pharmaceutical company or get into research, these other sort of roles that doctors get into. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I have this visual impairment. I don't have experience in anything else. So I reached out to a friend. Her name is Laura Swatko. I met her through another blind and visually impaired event, the Philadelphia Vision Walk. And Laura said, I think it's time we talk to Mike Hess. And I was unsure about this. I didn't know anything about tech. I didn't know anything about Salesforce. This was a major transition for me. But honestly, when I spoke to Mike, he kind of checked off all the check boxes. He said, this is very amenable to the blind and visually impaired community. There are many avenues. You don't have to just be an admin. There's a lot of different roles. He's like, by the way, they have Health Cloud. So you could technically still do something health related. And I really mean this, it's not just because this is what we're here talking about today. He said, there's a chance that you could get into our apprenticeship. And I'm like, that is awesome, because that was my hang up. It's the famous catch-22. You need experience, but how do you get experience?
Yeah.
So in July of 2023, I entered their academy branch at the Blind Institute of Technology. They had a class to become a certified Salesforce admin. I got my I was certified as an admin in December of 2023. I was offered a place in the apprenticeship in March of 2024. Since that time, I've now gotten my business admin certification. I am advanced Scrum certified, and I'm continually taking on more responsibility, continuing to learn within this apprenticeship. So full steam ahead with Salesforce for me. So it's been a really nice journey.
Wow. And that's in under a year. You've already achieved certifications and more to follow. This is awesome. And, there's a lot of similarities between your story and Mark and Mike, and as we'll see, Sarah as well. So many obstacles that you've overcome. And we need to focus on that human element, which is part of why we're here today, talking about opportunities for underserved populations and specifically professionals with disabilities. So, Dr. Gazzara, thank you for sharing your story. Let's go on for now to Sarah Russell. Now, Sarah is an inspiration, and I love her smile. And there's her bio or short bio to the left of her picture on this slide. And Sarah currently lives in Illinois. So we have apprentices from different parts of the country. And that's also what makes BIT's National Registered Apprenticeship Program so wonderful. And you know, I'll mention one of the things that Mike has said to me when we first met, which blew me away because I didn't see it this way. And he's been educating me the longer we get to know each other, that technology is the great equalizer. And I see that. I mean, I see it, but I didn't see that before. I always saw it as an obstacle, and he helped me see it actually. He helped turn my brain inside out, which is a scary thing when you think about it. But anyway, I see it in a different way, and I'm very grateful for that. And here we are with Sarah Russell. Sarah, I have the same question for you that I had for Jeff. How did you learn about BIT? Where are you today? And what happened in between? And also, if you would tell us what's the most valuable part of your apprenticeship experience with BIT, and what are you most proud of?
So I've got to go back just a little bit further from before when
Sure.
I learned about BIT. Because my bio doesn't really do it justice. There's a few things that have been left out. There have been many years where I wasn't really doing anything, honestly.
Sure.
I was born premature. I had vision up until about the age of 26 when I lost it all. But even before then, there were some struggles I had to deal with as a visually impaired person. I actually was one semester away from getting a bachelor's degree in elementary education and had to give that up. I did not have the support I needed. In short, I'm so sorry. I wasn't
No, 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 no,
anticipating.
no. That's okay. That's okay.
Um, I did not have the support to succeed. I was being marked off for things like not making eye contact with people. Um, it was hard. Um, so I also lost my father the same year I gave that up. And I ended up basically spending some time just helping my mom deal with that, deal with the grief of losing him because it was very sudden. And then I went into massage therapy school, and there I succeeded. It was a 6-month program. I actually am a licensed massage therapist even today. Um, but even it was a struggle because I had to have I had to have the support of the teachers there, and it was tough. You know, it was
Sure.
not easy. I
Right.
managed to pass that test and managed to do it. And I did that for a few years. And meanwhile, in 2010, shortly after I got my license and everything, I lost my sight entirely, all at once. Shortly before I turned 26, I had my retina detached. They tried to fix it, and it failed. I have no light perception. And so it was rough. I had several mornings where I would wake up from dreams where I woke up with sight again. And let me tell you, that does something to you. It was not easy. So for several years, I just kind of coped. I dealt with it. I tried to build a massage therapy business here in my little tiny town of Carthage, and you know, it was rough. I ended up actually giving that up eventually. I still have the license because it's easier to keep it than not. But then a friend in 2018 got a hold of me and is like, you know, I've got a company. My company wants to have somebody with a visual impairment test our websites for accessibility. Mind you, I had no idea what I was doing, nothing at all. No, no idea. Um, I was a little bit bored. I was like, okay, sure, bring in a little extra money. It'll be something that I can do. You know, it'll give me something to do to focus on. And so I dive headfirst into usability and accessibility testing with no idea what I'm doing. And it was great. I'm still with Brooks Jeffrey Marketing today, and fast forward to about 2020, 2021, I was on social media and I've got a friend, Christy Smith, who is a Salesforce admin working with BIT. And I followed her journey through the course and through the apprenticeship and getting hired with BIT, and then found out in late of 2022 about the digital accessibility analyst course that they were putting together.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, this might be a thing I need to do. She encouraged me to check this out, and I ended up becoming a career seeker with BIT, got in and did that. I went ahead and did the application, not really sure if I'd get in or not, but I was accepted. Um, so January 2023, I'm in the program, I'm doing the course. I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. I'm learning so much. I'm learning so much more than the, 4 years at that point, 3 or 4 years at that point working for Brooks Jeffrey Marketing. And then March comes around before the course has even ended. It ended in May of 2023, and myself and a couple of other students in the DAA pilot course ended up getting asked to join the digital accessibility apprenticeship. And so I actually had a really long talk with Christy about it, about doing the apprenticeship. I actually cried over it because it was like, oh my gosh, it's a whole thing. Um, I had to have like a whole, it was a whole thing. I had to talk it over with my partner. I had to talk it over with her. It was scary. It was frankly scary.
Sure, sure.
Um, and also I'm on Social Security. So, that comes with a
Ah,
whole lot of strings you got to deal with.
yep.
And so I went for it. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And I did it, and here I am today. And it's I'm coming up on 2 years with the program. I love it. The most valuable thing I've learned with the apprenticeship has definitely just been all of the different people I've gotten to work with. I've gotten to work directly with clients in some cases. I've gotten to work with amazing other apprentices. I'm now helping to mentor some of those apprentices and taking on
Wow.
more supervisory roles. And I've basically just found my calling, found what I really like to do. Um, Teaching a group of people was never the thing I was going to be good at. Like that was the thing I kind of found when I left the program for elementary education way back. But one-on-one mentoring and teaching is way more my thing. Um, but I love it. I see accessibility testing as a game. I get to try and break forms. I get to try and break a website and do all I can to find out what's wrong with it and how can we fix it? How can we make it better? And I'm just proud of everything I've accomplished, of all of the people I've helped and all of the people I've been able to work with and just see their improvement and see my own improvement. Because we get to do retesting on some of the sites we've done, and I get to look back and see where I was, even 6 months ago and see where I've come. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I've never felt as hopeful
Mhm.
as I have since getting into the DAA course and getting into this apprenticeship. And I'm 40 years old. I turned 40 this year. So it's never too late. It is never too late to take that first step to something new and take that chance.
Wow, Sarah. Wow. That's quite a story. Um, if you were in front of me, I would give you a massive hug. Because I'm running the slides, I can't see anyone. And so I'm just looking at the slide with your beautiful picture and your smile, and you're bringing tears to my eyes because, I'm very used to saying, and it's part of my spiel, if you will, but I do mean it with all my heart. Registered apprenticeship changes lives, it changes family trajectories. But when it comes to individuals with disabilities, it can have an even greater exponential impact. And you folks are proof, living proof that that is the case. And thank God for Blind Institute of Technology. And, folks may not know this because I don't know, I can't see the audience, the makeup, but, BIT has been doing so well. They no longer, as you could see with Mark, no longer focus on just blind and visually impaired, but individuals with all disabilities. And I think that that's awesome. And, Mike Hess is just an incredible leader. Um, I'm going to go to the next slide, which has a picture, and I love this picture. It's an individual in a wheelchair holding a sign that says, "Can work like everyone else." And that's so poignant. I mean, obviously it's true, but it really, if it doesn't hit you, then there's something wrong there. So, you know, what's so great about hiring professionals with disabilities? I mean, is this about, let's do this and go to heaven? Well, maybe that's a byproduct, but hey, let's look at the bottom line. We're talking about enhanced financial performance, increased productivity, access to a larger talent pool, improved employee retention and engagement, and expanded market reach. And we're just scratching the surface when we say that. There are a lot of reasons, but don't listen to me. I want you to hear it from Mike. So, Mike, let me turn back to you. You founded BIT back in 2012. Your apprenticeship program was nationally registered in 2021, just about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. And you just got a U.S. Department of Education grant in the amount of $8 million. I mean, wow, more power to you. That's amazing. So tell us, what is the impact of this new grant on BIT's programming, if you would?
Sure. It's a little like the Oprah show, and you get a car and you get a car, except for now we get to go to organizations and we get to say, and you get an apprentice and you get an apprentice. We literally wrote this grant in 3 weeks. Um, Submitted it on July 8th of this year. I hadn't even heard of the Disability Innovation Fund through the Department of Ed federally until May. We ended up finding a grant writer, and we just said, "All right, let's roll the dice on this." Right, like we fit all the criteria, and the grant was literally to create or support entities that were leveling up, skilling up people with disabilities into future proofed economic opportunities, right? And it's exactly what we're doing. You just heard about what we're doing.
Yep. Yep.
And the challenge with our model is a societal, and I'm talking all societies, right? Like again, the disability community is taboo globally. Like it really, like we have the best employment numbers for people with disabilities here in the US, and they're egregious, and they only get worse across the globe. And we're a billion strong. We're 1 in 6 human beings on this planet, and yet the unemployment numbers are egregious. And yet, so when I use that very braggadocious term of like, hey, we're the greatest untapped human potential on the planet, it sounds super braggadocious. And then you see the financial implications to organizations that actually recruit and retain talent from this community. Like the business case is there.
Yep.
So what's preventing like mass hiring of people with disabilities? It's stigma, it's perception. Yeah, it's people. I tell people all the time, Maria, like if like with my cane, I travel all over the country all by myself, just me, Uber, and airplanes. Like, and I get around New York 3 or 4 times this year, Chicago, Atlanta, like the biggest, baddest cities there are here in the United States, and I do it all by myself. And I tell people all the time, like I'm blind, not dead. I can feel the uncomfortableness, right? My cane, like it invokes this like internal, like people are afraid. And there's actually a lot of psychology. We've done a lot of research on this, but it boils down to empathy, right? So if you're a human being, unless you're a sociopath, so it's a good time not to be a sociopath, right? But if you're a human being, you have this natural human condition called empathy, which means you're able to put yourself in my shoes. And if you're sighted, right, or if you have hearing and if you got your legs and you're not in a wheelchair, right? So when you have that empathy condition, it's uncomfortable because you're putting yourself in somebody else's shoes that you're not comfortable with. Well, so if that human condition is pervasive, so imagine how that plays out during the interview process, right?
Absolutely.
It's stigma and perception that is stopping this. But with this grant now, like what we're able to do is like we're able to say, hey, by the way, we have skilled individuals, right, within the Salesforce ecosystem. Within the digital accessibility ecosystem. Like we have skilled professionals with the certifications, and we're coming to organizations, large and small, and we're able to say, oh, by the way, we're able to use these grant dollars to pay for the apprenticeship experience. So literally organizations have a zero risk associated to bringing in this talent now. So the impact that we imagine, the grant period started October 1st, 2024. It ends September 30th of 2029. So our goals for this is to literally open up several dozen new organizations bringing in apprentices from the professionals with disabilities community. So our goal is to literally just start to pervasively get our community out there to private industry and for them to then start seeing these financial results that you showed
Yep.
on the screen.
Yes. Yes. Well, we can't end because we have a lot of comments in the chat. I can't see them. I just see flashes across the screen. But how can somebody take the first step towards becoming a future BIT apprentice?
Oh, we make it so difficult, Maria. It's literally going to our website, blindit.org. Blind is an unable to see, it.org. And you're going to see a link that says become a career seeker. It literally, there's no cost to becoming a career seeker. There's no cost to our academy has always been, always will be completely complimentary. 100% of our instructors identify with disabilities. So when I say we eat our own cooking, we eat our own cooking. So, and in the whole, like, so Blind Institute of Technology, I need to get this out there, Maria. So, because people are like, you only serve the blind. No, actually, so here's the nerd I am. Okay. So I grew up in tech. So, former coder, network admin, Cisco certified. So I speak nerd, I speak tech. Okay.
Right.
And in technology, because you've heard me say technology is a great equalizer. Okay.
Yes.
So in technology, so even with the AI and ML and everything else that's going on now, everything breaks down to machine language. In machine language, there's bits and bytes. A bit is a binary 0 or 1 or off or on. And I took that binary bit and created the acronym Blind Institute of Technology. So that's my claim to marketing fame. But technology is the greatest equalizer. If you think back to the Wright brothers, to the pencil, technology has always been there to help humanity overcome obstacles. And within the digital age, accessible technology allows all humans to participate in today's digital economy.
Absolutely. Wow. And somebody is saying that's awesome. I'm a tech nerd too. I love it. So I just saw a little blurb. That's the first one I saw flash across my screen because all I could see are the slides. But Mike, that's great. Before I stop sharing and look at the chat and the questions and open it up, I just want to highlight our last slide, which has the website for BIT, the website for Safal Partners, including their cyber intermediary link, and also our national registered apprenticeship website, apprenticeship.gov. So what I'd like to do, and we're right on time, we wanted at least 15 minutes to open it up for questions and to just see what's in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing Hopefully I do this correct. Okay. And I'm going to open up the chat. And if anyone wants to come off mute and address any of our guests, please feel free. Open mic. Fabulous shoes. Hey, Mike, somebody commented on your shoes. And we
Hello?
appreciate, yes, yes.
Quick question from a Canadian. Have you had any Canadians accept apprenticeships, and were they able to do that? I mean, I assume we can because there are Americans who work up here in Canada, and there are Canadians who have jobs based in the U.S. But is it open to us people up north?
Our neighbors up north.
Yeah.
Actually, we do. So yes, we do not call. So we actually have somebody who is part-time with us over in the Vancouver, so Western provinces, right? British Columbia. And Gordon went through our program, has been managing several of our accounts. We don't call him an apprentice though, because we do not have that apprenticeship agreement in place with the Canadian government. However, he is a paid individual in the country of Canada at this point. So went through our program, became certified. We've actually had students on 4 continents now. So North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And we actually just had our very first certified individual from Israel, the Middle East. So it's super fun, the global impact that we're making. So
and
absolutely.
You mentioned the Canadian government. Are you trying to get an agreement with them, or?
So interesting. So my language is private industry. It's actually, I feel like the reason why BIT is successful is because creating partnerships, relationships with juggernauts like Salesforce and Randstad and NBC Universal. Like that's my claim to fame. I actually so with our partnership with Maria and Safo Partners is like I don't speak government.
Yeah,
it's a different.
I'm teaching him.
Yeah, she's kicking and screaming, but I just don't teach. I don't speak government. So if you have connections, happy to engage. I just need I need an interpreter so I can speak, Canadian government and what we're doing. Because our program, I feel like if there's a government that is amenable, right, to apprenticeships, our program fits. Like I don't think there's going to be any additional red tape. It's just it's connecting the dots. So feel free. My email.
I don't know who that person would be up here. I'm just a job seeker, but boy, if I ever hear there's a minister of accessibility or something, I will absolutely let you know.
Make the connection. Absolutely. So my email address is actually on our website. I make myself ridiculously available.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
And Chris, if I may, you said that you're from Canada. We've taken a lot, we meaning the United States Registered Apprenticeship System, the national system, has taken a lot from the Canadian Registered Apprenticeship System, which you may not be aware of. Now, there are a lot of differences, but there are a lot of similarities. So I would encourage you to also take a look at what's available, which may have a quicker return, if you know what I'm saying. But please stay in touch with Mike. First off, awesome. He has contacts, and this could really turn into something more beautiful.
Okay. Well, first I need to I'm an accessibility person, so first is getting into the your accessibility program.
Perfect.
So that's probably coming up again in January, or?
So the classes start in February for our digital accessibility analyst course.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you need to start the process now then, Chris. So again, click on the link, become a career seeker.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely do that. Become a seeker, and then just wait for the application to come.
Yep. Start writing those essay questions.
Yep.
Thanks, Sarah. And by the way, Sarah, there are folks who are saying how inspirational you are and that you've come so very far, and we could all echo that. And my friend Bill Dowling, hi Bill, I haven't seen you in quite a while. I'm thrilled that you're here. Thank you all for sharing your stories, powerful stories of perseverance and success. I mean, you guys are amazing. You know, if you look up, this is so cliche, but if you look up awesome in the dictionary, your pictures have got, no, I'm serious. Your pictures have got to be there. God bless you for everything that you're doing and for not giving up and for being examples to so many people. Let's see. We have some time. I want to see if there are any questions.
Maria, it looks like Tiffany James has her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see. This is not my usual platform. Can you help me out?
Hi. Um, so my name is Tiffany, and I passed I did the program, the Salesforce program, administrator program at BIT, and I just passed my certification last week.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I was wondering, what are my next steps? Because I'm not really sure what happens between now and then, and I'm just a little, I feel like there's a gap.
Okay, Mike, anyone from
Yes.
BIK?
Yeah, so Tiffany, our team is going to be, so we've been this is no excuse, but with the new Department of Ed grant to say so the it's like, okay, cool, you have $8 million, and then it's like, oh, you have a lot of federal bureaucracy you have to get through. And so the team are, and Tiffany, we're not a large team, so our team
Right.
has been slightly inundated. However, I promise you, like, so you and the other two individuals who passed last week, we had two more pass this week.
We did.
Yeah, no, and so it's super exciting. This is an amazing cohort. You are all coming in at the exact right time, because it's the whole, and you get an apprentice and you get an apprentice. So all of that's going to be trickling down to you. I promise. We've literally just been hammered slammed with getting everything situated from the DOE. But if it's not this week, it'll be the week after Thanksgiving that you're going to be getting more details, Tiffany.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thanks for being here, Tiffany, and thank you, Mike. There is a
Happy to
question.
be here.
Well, this is a great event. There's a question in the chat. How does BIT's apprenticeship model align with broader workforce trends like the push for diversity, equity, inclusion in technology? And actually, that kind of strikes a nerve a little bit, because a lot of times when I hear my colleagues all across government, in fact, talk about DEIA, and I hope this comes out right, but we talk about people of color, women, veterans, and what have you. But that's terrific. That's important. That's critical. But I don't hear a lot of folks talking about individuals with disabilities. And it always makes me a little nuts, because that needs to be included in DEIA efforts. And when we talk about DEIA, it must include individuals with disability. And Tiffany is saying it makes me nuts too. No, I'm right there with you. And that's one of the reasons why we have this event today, and why the Department of Labor Office of Apprenticeship is focusing this day in particular on registered apprenticeship for underserved populations, including those with disabilities.
Yeah, Maria, I mentioned it earlier. So the big three in private industry that are talked about, and so we're talking, the Fortune 10,000. It is gender, it's ethnicity, and it's a relationship orientation. Those are the big three. Okay. And we could talk about lack of representation. So within Fortune 500 companies, individuals who identify as female, only 4% are women of color. Okay, we could talk about lack of representation. And then we ask either male, identifying as male or female, how many identify with disabilities? Then we get into tokenism, right? So we could talk about lack of representation, and then it trickles down to truly tokenism. And again, our belief and our approach is truly because, again, human conditions like empathy, disability makes people feel squishy. It does. Again, and it's not. And I want people to hear this. It's not. They shouldn't feel bad over the human condition called empathy. But we need to realize, and so BIT, how our kind of some of our secret sauce is, I'm at major brands, NBC Universal, I'm at Comcast, I'm at Chubb, I'm at Merck, I'm at very large brands all the time, helping them realize this greatest untapped human potential. Well, so that's great on paper. We can show the financial, the return on the investment, all of that is fantastic. We still have to address this squishy feeling and help people, not by shaming them, by saying, so why don't you don't hear us talking about unconscious bias. It almost shames people by thinking about it like that, like there's something wrong with them, versus saying, oh, well, I'm a human and I've got the condition of empathy. Like it's okay to talk about it, like, okay, because it's not a bunch of bad people out there thinking like, oh, I don't want to hire a blind person. So first, let's get over that and just name it. It's called empathy. That's the human condition. And then it's okay, so we are the only protected class, only, okay, not gender, not ethnicity, relationship orientation, not veteran. We're the only protected class that has a very legal nebulous bell called reasonable accommodation.
Right.
So organizations struggle with that because they're like, oh, and most people that are gatekeepers within HR, they couldn't point to a reasonable accommodation if a paycheck depended on it. Okay. So and that's why we lead with, so again, technology being the greatest equalizer. So application. So if you're a Salesforce shop, like literally we tell people like, oh, Salesforce is the reasonable accommodation. So out of the box, Salesforce is the most digitally equitable business enterprise application on the planet. That's why we're partners with that organization. Okay, but Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, there are a lot of productivity suites that are absolutely equitable as well. And so you start thinking about the broader digital landscape that allows somebody like me, somebody like Mark to actually contribute into an organization like yours. You have reasonable accommodations. However, you probably just don't know. And so we lead with awareness and education, helping people just realize the miss connecting these dots to this amazing untapped human potential that's out there, which is the professionals with disabilities community.
Wow. There's another
Mic
question.
drop. Boom.
Okay. How can you get into the BIT apprenticeship program if you're already Salesforce certified but did not go through the BIT program for Salesforce?
Just reach out. Like, so we have in the past taken apprentices that did not go through. We have a vetting process. We like to think that our program is incredibly thorough because it is. So, however, we have a technical vetting process of individuals who have come to us literally across the globe with Salesforce certifications in hand. However, not all educational environments are as badass as ours, Maria.
You're right. Okay, say that again, because if I say it, I'll get in trouble. But you
Yeah,
could
no.
say
So our training program is very thorough. We give you hands-on, like we have lab days. You are up to your knees. We have capstone projects. Like you are in the Salesforce ecosystem. Our educational environment does not just prepare people to pass a test, right? So if individuals come to us with a Salesforce admin certification, that's fantastic. However, we're going to technically vet them out before they get to be an apprentice, right? So it's possible, but there's an actual technical vetting process that we put people through.
all right, we have like one more minute. I want to tell folks, and I should have said this earlier, and I'll try and say it quickly. When I first met Mike, he was not interested in, quote, public dollars. Okay. And it just blew me away that, oh my gosh, you're out there doing God's work, and you should be, getting some public funds to support this and registered apprenticeship, yada, yada, yada. And it took some convincing for him to kind of not drink the Kool-Aid, because Mike isn't going to drink the Kool-Aid, but to take a step. And all he did was tip his toe, and he gets an $8 million grant. But this
It's a cliffhanger. Maria, are you there?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to not sound like a jerk.
Oh, to a blind person, I thought that the audio went out. Maria sounds like, oh my goodness.
No, I just really, truly appreciate what you do and who you're doing it for. And I adore BIT. I have a caseload of national registered apprenticeship programs, and you are one of my favorites. And I just love you guys. And I want to thank, and excuse me, okay, I get a little emotional. I want to thank everyone for being part of the event, especially Sarah, Mark, Jeffrey, and Mike. Thank you. Thank you.
We love you, Maria. Thank you.
Yes.
I love you
for
too.
having us.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, team.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting this on.
Yeah. Thanks, Software Partners. Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you, Safel.